About 6 months before they told me that I had an inoperable brain tumor, my life had kind of fallen completely apart. I lost friends, I lost family, I lost my home, I lost a relationship I had been in for 7 years, and all of that because I had found Jesus. So while everything around me was just collapsing, I found a rock to stand upon.
So it took like 9 months of hearing Pastor Greg just teach through the life of David that I was just, oh man, I want to live for Jesus. And then when I actually made that decision, a month later, I found out that I have cancer. And I was really, really sick, and it was pretty painful. So
when the doctor sat me down and explained those things to me, I said, well, you didn't tell me all my options. I was like, Jesus can heal me. And the guy's like, okay, I know you're in denial. You should probably see a counselor about this. But I just knew that I was going to be healed one way or the other. I was going to be healed by going to the place where there's no more crying and no more pain and no more suffering. And to be honest with you, that sounded like a really good option for me. But I also knew that Jesus could heal, and he would use that.
I just could not explain the peace, what was evident when I heard these news. Actually, some of the doctors called a psychologist to check me if I actually understood what they said, that I have this sickness. I'm losing weight, my liver is failing. You know, I should be losing peace right now, but I felt the most secure in my life ever. 9 months into the sickness, after 2 operations and 5.5, almost 6 rounds of chemotherapy, I actually made like this covenant with him. I said, like, I want to talk about this peace, I want to talk about this Jesus the rest of my days.
They told me, you don't have long. The doctor called me back and he said, you know, that image wasn't clear, we need a second scan. He had that wall up that's like a light wall, and they can put up the different images, and he said, we can't explain these things, these are medically unexplainable, but your tumor is gone.
Is it faith really, or tempting God to trust God for miracles or healing? And I asked God, like, can you just send somebody my way who would understand this lessons I go through? I
started dancing. That was my initial reaction. I was like, yeah, Jesus healed me. And the doctor looked kind of smug, and he said, I guess you got your miracle.
After the last treatment, I left because they didn't give much more hope. They said, like, we can chemo you to the end. So I actually stopped that. I didn't get a CT scan appointment for 3 more months. So I should have been dead by that point. Something happened in that 3 months because all my results were negative. It's not even like this big faith I can bring, like, oh, I had such a big faith and then he healed me. I actually wanted to go home.
And I was like, wait a minute, that means that God has a plan for my life and he wants to do something with my life. So just a couple months later, I boarded a plane and went to a missions training program in Hungary.
That was actually a crazy moment. I went on a big walk. I said, I was so sad. I was such at peace to go to heaven, and then now I stay. I'm like, what do you want me to do now?
We started hanging out for like a few months while I was at the Bible college. I was leaving for Ukraine. I wasn't thinking about, you know, a relationship or anything. And so right before I left, like the day before I left, he got the phone call that he was healed. So he told me right before we left that he loved me. And I said, well, thank you. I went to Ukraine and kind of failed miserably there. And God was working a restoration in my heart and in Balazs' life too. He was working in him something separately, and those things couldn't take place together. I came out here for a couple weeks to Hungary. He asked me to marry him with the dictionary. His English wasn't very good, but I said yes. So when they told us we couldn't have children, it was just not even a question. We're like, okay, then we're gonna adopt. And the doctor confirmed that, yeah, having children wouldn't necessarily be possible. But the very next month, I was pregnant, and we had our first daughter, and the burden to adopt never left us. Even when we found out we could have biological children, it never changed our burden. Yeah, it actually like strengthened, and then we knew what the love of a parent to a child was. We knew that we wanted to adopt a Roma child because those are the children in this country that are just thrown aside.
I think that spoke the loudest in the last couple of years to the community here and even to the church. Just melt away deep-rooted hatred of other people or other kind of people, to see a family functioning with a, somebody, American wife or Hungarian husband, and, cute little princesses, and then this cute little Roma princess in the same family dynamic, and made a lot of people just have their heart melted.